Good morning. I'm Pamela Martin, a prayer practitioner here at Light on the Mountains. Let's take this moment to just go within, perhaps close your eyes, and take a deep breath. And release all the activity of coming here and simply center in that quiet place. That place within each one of us that is at peace. It is our soul, it is our intuition, it is the place where we connect with spirit. Spirit that acts upon our thoughts and words and manifests them. Spirit that is the power to heal and make whole and to expand all our possibilities. We simply take this moment. And we give thanks for this opportunity today to come together in spiritual community, to hear the messages and the words of Reverend John, the music of R.L., and the comradeship of each other, knowing that where two or more are gathered, we gain strength and we gain wisdom. And we're so grateful for this beautiful day. And so together we simply say, and so it is. So apparently we've moved on already from atonement. I could have used more of that. But anyway, we've moved on into possibility, which is something I think in some level we're always exploring in this philosophy, because we are expanding our visions, we're expanding our understanding of life, we're taking away, actually, a lot of times the constructs and the limitations that our own minds have created through our lives. And so I think what we do sometimes is, as much as releasing our previous ideas and just opening up to possibility and expansion. So this month, a lot of people at the sanctuary are reading The Art of Possibility. And so I'm going to take a read from that today. The action in a universe of possibility may be characterized as generative or giving in all sense of that word, producing new life, creating new ideas, consciously endowing with meaning, contributing, yielding to the power of contexts. There are moments in everyone's life when an experience of integration with the world transcends the business of survival. Like seeing a grandchild for the first time, witnessing an Olympic record broken, or the uncommon bravery of an ordinary citizen. For many, the experience of attending the dismantling of the Berlin Wall, or of witnessing the emergence of Nelson Mandela from 27 years of imprisonment, may have been such a moment. Some find admission to the realm of possibility at a religious gathering, some in meditation, some by listening to great music. Often people enter this state in the presence of natural beauty or in the sight of something infinite in magnitude, an expansive ocean or a towering sky. These are moments when we forget ourselves and seem to become part of all being in a universe of possibility. In the measurement world, you set a goal and strive for it. In the universe of possibility, you set the context and let life unfold. So a prayer for that context from Ernest Holmes, This Thing Called You. Today, I enter into the limitless variations of self-expression which the Divine Spirit projects into my experience. Knowing that all experience is a play of life upon itself, the blossoming of love into self-expression, the coming forth of good into the joy of its own being. I enter the game of living with joyful anticipation, with enthusiasm. I play the game of life well and I enjoy it. Today I enter into my divine inheritance, shaking my thought clear from the belief that external conditions are imposed upon me. possibility. So let's read together the affirmation for today, for October. It's in this insert in your folder. I perceive everything as pure potential and possibility as I let go of any attachment to the forms of the past. Thank you.
Thanks, Pamela. Good morning, everyone. A thought of the day. I missed you all last week. I was in Richmond, Virginia, my hometown, with a lot of rain and a lot of friends and family. And I had an opportunity to do a really unique performance there. It was sort of a talk show with my good friend Bobby Smith and I got to interview him about his life and his career. Bobby and I started together as young, budding artists in Richmond together. We moved to the DC market together, and then Bobby moved on to New York and Broadway. And I went on the road, and we've remained dearest of friends since we were, in our teens. And Bobby turned 60 this year, and I'm older than him, which he reminded me of several times. I only once brought up the fact that when we were in our 20s, we cooked a big meal together, and he oversalted the scallops. It was his fault, not mine. So we had a wonderful time sort of reliving some memories. But I also marveled over and over again as I was back in my hometown, wondering how we ever got anywhere without GPS. I mean, I was in my hometown, and there were times where, of course, I turned down a street where I knew exactly where I was going, and there was a building there now, because it's been a while since I had been back. But GPS led me out to my niece's new house, out just a ways past where I grew up, out by Sandston, out by the airport. And I realized that I was passing the cemetery where my mother and father and sister and brother-in-law are all buried. And I'm not a cemetery kind of guy. I don't often feel the need to go to cemeteries and do those things like put flowers out and things that are really important for others, and I don't negate that. It's just not me. But I decided that I should turn in. And I wondered if I'd be able to find the markers, and it took a few minutes, and I did. And then I realized that this year, 50 years ago, my father passed away. 50 years ago. And that next year, my mother would turn 100. And that my mother and my sister and brother-in-law all passed away within a year of each other, right as I was turning 50. Led me right into that sort of mid-age crisis. All those things, and still I needed GPS to get me out of there and back to, I drove by the house that I grew up in, which on the outside looks exactly the same. And I know it's been totally redone on the inside, but at least on its surface, it looks like nothing has changed in all those years. And I started to wonder if there was the possibility that eventually, with technology being what it is, if we could have life GPS. You know, a GPS that told us not how to get somewhere, like an address, but how to get where we needed to be, wanted to be, we're supposed to be, we're meant to be, all those things. You know, sort of like spiritual, intellectual, guru-esque GPS. And we could just say, take me where I'm supposed to go without plugging in a destination or an intention. I doubt it. But I made my way back to the hotel, which was in a renovated department store that I went to as a kid, Millen Roads, downtown Richmond, 7-story department store. It's now a Hilton. But the framework is still the same. The exterior looks the same. And if you stand by the elevator, there's a little plaque telling you what used to be on that floor. And I was on the 5th floor. And on the 5th floor of Millen Roads was the tea room, where, ham biscuits and potato salad and crab chowder and all those things, tomato aspic. I know. But Eddie Weaver played the organ for the fashion shows. So my mom would take me to watch Eddie Weaver play the organ. And on the side, there was a piano, and he would reach over and play the piano while he was playing the organ, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And I stayed on the 5th floor, where the tea room used to be. Maybe I was sleeping right where Eddie Weaver played the organ. I don't know, somewhere in there, there's a thought of the day. I don't know. I just thought you should know where I was and what I was doing.
right. Actually, I missed the scones at the tea room at the Bullock's Wilshire on Wilshire Boulevard. Anyone from Los Angeles? It was kind of amazing. Well, yeah, and felt like such an upscale housewife going there or something. But anyways, I digress. I kept thinking about scones, and it's your fault. So, I digress. So as Pamela kind of hinted around, we are using this book, The Art of Possibility, this month. And Anne and Candace have both been leading a book discussion, and you have, what, 3 more meetings? 3 more Wednesday nights at 6:30. And I'm assuming you can drop in. It's not like you've missed it all. You have to wait till we do it next time.
2 chapters a week.
Okay, so talk to Anne if you're interested in popping in. I read this several years ago. It's great to revisit with a different mind. So let's look at, of course, we talk about possibility. First, this gives you a different way of looking at it. And it's a lot more than just fulfilling an I want list. I mean, it's really, I have enough stuff, don't you, for the most part? I mean, there's always things we would like to have. I just got a new laptop. Of course, we want new stuff. But it's so much deeper there. So what's so interesting as I review the first few chapters here, there's 2 polarities to look at as we are trying to, as it's said, to invent and reinvent our lives. So again, it's not about just getting stuff. It's about opening our lives up to more meaning, a more fuller experience, and it always includes stuff along the way. But it's the stuff you need has a way of being included. Just know that. Don't focus on the stuff. Focus on the experience. So there's 2 interesting polarities. One actually is the universe of possibilities, infinite possibilities, an expansive thinking of anything is possible. But the thing that tempers it on the other side of this polarity is something that the authors refer to as the world of measurements. Now, you need both. If you are too grounded in one over the other, you might have trouble getting things done. So what are the world of measurements? So very simply, you walked in this morning, and whether you realize it or not, you cased out the room. Who's here? Who else came out in the rain? Oh, I want to talk to them. Oh, I don't want to talk to them. You know what I mean. You cased the joint out a little bit. We do that everywhere we go. When you have an idea of something that you might like to invite into your life, whether you realize it or not, one of the first you have idea, and then we have a way as human beings going instantly into the world of measurement, meaning I don't have that yet, so it may mean I'll never have it. Or, gosh, that would take $10,000 and I don't have an extra $10,000. That would take a certain level of expertise that I don't have. You know what I mean? So any great idea that you've had, great or even minor, we have a way of instantly going into the world of measurements. In other words, the reason why it can't happen. And you may think, well, I'm not a negative person. I don't do that. Yes, you do. On some level, you do. That you get out in your car this morning, too much rain. I'm staying home. I'm talking about you people up there in the wall. I want to go. No, too rainy. Too rainy. Couldn't possibly do that. In winter, I could be first in line at the chairlift, but today it's too much. Too much rain there. The snow is a different story. But you get where I'm saying, that we have a way, without even realizing it, that we shift from, or a possibility, yeah, then we go, oh, from my past experience, I have learned this never works well for me. And maybe it's not. Like, I tried jumping off the cliff once, didn't work out well. I mean, so there's certain, the world of measurements has some very practical things that we need to pay attention to. But actually, you need both. One interesting conversation in this book this week was in talking about the world of measurements. There is a difference in looking at inventory of what may appear to be missing, as opposed to, ooh, that was big. I just got really big. Okay. There is a difference from taking inventory and seeing that there may be some things missing as opposed to a scarcity consciousness. I don't know about you, but often I do a big Atkinson's or Albertsons shopping every week. I go look to see what I have. And there are things that I would prefer to have, or I'm going to cook this week. So I don't go there and go, oh, there's no food. We'll never eat again. It's like, no, we're taking inventory. I need some more spaghetti or whatever. You know what I mean. So there is a difference in noticing that I'm looking at inventory as opposed to a scarcity consciousness, which is, I don't have it, I don't see any way of having it, I don't understand how people could ever have it. So you see the difference here. So in the world of measurements, as you are putting your shopping list, you open the cupboard and your refrigerator and see what's there and what you would like to restock. The scarcity consciousness is more like the store's closed, it'll never be open again. So look at that. I know those are two extreme kind of things, but that's the difference. So to just say, oh, well, it'll all work out somehow, whatever, without taking inventory, you got to take inventory. You need to do both. You need to be in the world of effects to a certain extent, and you need to be in the universe of impossibilities and put the two together. That's just how the thing works. Because if you're too much in the world of or the universe of possibilities, you may never get anything done. You may believe you could sit on your couch with a bag of chips and everything would happen on its own. It doesn't work that way. So you have to temper the two, to be right in the center there and take inventory but have a larger idea. So let's look at a couple ways that this kind of works practically. You say, well, John, that works for you, but I really am having trouble here having something happen or to find a healing or direction in my life. And again, we're always balancing this. So I had a great interfaith meeting this last week. There's a kind of a newer, expanded interfaith group, and I mentioned this a while back, talking about how in making connections we were going to ramp up doing service in the community. You remember that? Talked about that? So here's the next chapter. And so this is a way you can look how you temper the two. Taking inventory, world of measurements, and having a greater idea. So there's a couple things that we're going to participate in that you would think, well, those are the usual things that we do. And we're going to do them. So first of all, we're participating in something called the Shoshone Project. And I have this great little handout that we have in the other room that tells it in details. Basically, this is that we have many community members who are essential workers in our valley who live in Lincoln County. And they can't afford here. We can barely afford to live here sometimes. And if you ever go south in the morning in your car, you will see a line of cars coming. It are many people who are essential workers that, in some cases, just kind of barely making it. But they are the backbone of our workforce here. And so, like I said, there's a couple things that we'll be announcing soon, like food drives and clothes drives. We all know about that, don't we? We know how that works. But talk about what is a larger idea that can happen. It's funny how at first we go to the usual. Not to say we don't need food and we don't need clothes, but that would be the usual thing. Let's go to food and clothes. And they are doing that, and we will participate in that. But a group of people a while back, a few months ago, thought, what do we really need here to really support this workforce that are just doing these long commutes up here? What could really support them, not just the easy stuff? And the vision came up of a youth center. And first of all, spoiler alert, there is one that got created out of here. And first I'm going to tell you from here, it says the Lincoln County Youth Center in Richfield provides foundational and experiential education opportunities, as well as child care and teen center to the children and families of Lincoln County. The center serves over 50 children per day, ages 5 through 16, in their after-school program, and they serve over 25 preschoolers. Transportation is also provided, and they serve up fresh home-cooked meals every day to each child. So the idea was that these people that, childcare is a thing, isn't it? And so they had this idea, but when you're in this possibility, you're still in the world of measurements. It's like, Boy, that's expensive. How's that going to happen? Where would we even, sometimes the ideas for me are so big, it's like, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, it's like, it's just too big for me. It's like, can we just kind of get it into some incremental things, which eventually you do. But this group of people thought, well, we at least need to get on someone's radar that we need this. So I know that some people who really knew how to write grants wrote a grant to the federal government, thinking it would never happen. That mostly it'd be like, oh, there's people in Lincoln County that need something. We'll keep an eye on them and maybe down the road. And they said the shock of their lives is that they got the grant. It's like, you never get what you asked for. It's like, oh my God, now I have to do something kind of thing. But long story short, we are going to have projects that we will support them. And hopefully by next week, I will have some real actual jobs for you that we're planning something on the 20th, the weekend of the 20th and 21st. It's coming together quickly, and I'm hoping it's going to come together. It'll be things like painting rooms, things like moving things out of the room that needs to be painted, that kind of stuff. So we're hopefully working as a team that there'll be an online sign-up sort of thing, and as soon as that is available, I will let you know. But just know that that's in the works, and it will be an ongoing thing that we will be helping out with other faith communities, I think, over the next several months. So, but the thing is, as we're to bring it into the material, you have this, possibility, and of course, the world of measurement said, not going to happen. But as from what Pamela read, instead of looking at just the goals and, oh my God, goals can be difficult, that you look at the larger context and allow it to unfold. But at the same time, they had to address the world of measurements. They had to write a grant. They had to find someone who knew how to write grants. They had to send it to the right office, or however this works sort of thing. And even now, there seems to be a list of things, perpetual list of things that could be done, but always keep your eye on the larger creation that is going on here, the larger vision and idea of how people are being served. And yes, and then as you approach the world of measurements, you're doing from that higher state of consciousness and energy, and things have a way of unfolding. Don't get stuck in one or the other. It can't be just the idea, and it can't just be about making lists that will never get done. At this meeting this last week, Pastor Steve from the Seventh-day Adventist Church, who I just think so highly of right now, said something that was just great. I steal my material from everyone, and now I'm stealing it from the Seventh-day Adventists. Who knew? Who knew? It shows you the world has infinite possibilities. I just want to point that out to you. So Pastor Steve said, and I just love this. I just love that group of people so much. I can't even tell you. I came out of there like, I was so energized. He said, faith is not just a noun, it is a verb. That faith starts in the idea of possibility as a noun, but you need to start walking that faith in anything you create, not just we're talking about religious sort of things. In your intentions, you have to walk that intention, walk that faith. And again, back to this youth center, there had to be a lot of walking that happened. There wasn't just sitting on your prayer cushion. Things needed to get done in balance with this. So to think that anything in your life right now that you think, oh, it's impossible, it's too difficult, to set that context and allow it to unfold. And I know that, so when things are going well, isn't that a great thing to talk about? Oh, I just let that thing unfold. But boy, when you're in the middle of it, it's like, I don't know about you, where is it? I don't know what to do. It costs money. I need to take a class that's 300 miles away. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know what to do. How do I let this thing unfold when I have so many things in my inventory that I need to do? It's exhausting. But it really is, as I found, and even in my major points of change in my life, that it really gets down to faith as a verb and just making one step at a time. And I think a great way to look at this as you read the material, the first couple chapters. I think the first chapter is the official title of my talk. Let me get it hot off the press because I make things up all the time. It's all invented. So just what does that bring to your mind differently? Someone, oh, that's you. No, it's a fire. I guess I'm free for the day. Where was I going? Oh, so we often talk about setting intentions and all the energy that's around that, but how do you approach this differently if you're talking about, I want to consciously invent and reinvent my life? It feels different to me somehow. How does it feel different to say I'm inventing my life? As it says in here, everything is invented anyway. Why not invent something that works? Everything in the whole world, and this is something we don't like to admit, everything we see, even the things that we don't like, especially the things we don't like, we as a collective consciousness have invented that. So our job, you think, not me, yes, you. So part of our job is to, anything that we are not pleased with, is to reinvent that, at least take care of our bit of real estate where we are. And part of that reinvention is to believe that it can be. How many times, I'm not going to take hands here, have you said, oh, I believe in possibility and this and that and the other, and look at politics today, it could never change. How many times have you said something and it could never change? Come on, again, I'm not taking hands here. Just look inside. We all do it. Even in your own life, it's just like, look what the neighborhood kids did today. It's never going to change. Well, maybe when they grow up in 10 years, but now it's never going to change. We all do that to a certain extent. We make that very strong affirmation, it will never change. See how powerful it is? It works. Because some things don't ever seem to change, do they? In your own life, you've said, oh, I want this, and it could never happen. The power of intention. The power of affirmation. You prove it all the time when we do that. So think of ourselves as inventors. So my dad was an inventor. When he was not just being a piece of work. He was an inventor. I mean, and he had some crazy things going on in his garage. And there's so much I could say right now, but knowing we are limited in time, I'm not going to go there. But he invented one thing that actually went to market. And not wide, but it actually sold and did okay for a while. And it fits into here, your life isn't you are inventing your life. And the steps I know he had to go through are the steps that we have to go through in inventing our life. So let me tell you about this thing, because my dad was a character. So my parents, like all parents in the 60s, not all, they were on a bowling league. You have absolutely no idea where this is going, do you? I'm going to tell you. And so, and just for fun, my dad, they wore the bowling shirts. I don't think they do that. And my dad's business sponsored their team, and so they had canary yellow shirts. Usually it's like Bob's Auto Body, here in the back, in big black letters, Southgate Mortuary. So it's not a shirt you wore to the picnic. It's like, what? Anyway, that just shows you how I grew up. But anyways, so my dad's idea was this. Of course, my dad and mom would always go in during the week because you got to practice your skills, So let's just review bowling. We've all been, haven't we, at some point in our life? Or we know the concept? Why is John talking about bowling? I'll get there. Anyways, you've got 10 pins. You have 2 tries to knock all the pins down. And of course, you want to knock them all down with the first try, don't you? That's called a strike. But what you hope is for the second best thing is what they call a spare, meaning with your second ball, you knock the rest of them down. Remember that? We've all done this at some point. So my dad was thinking in his rehearsal or practice that the pins that were left after the first try, there were certain configurations that were more difficult than others. And so his idea, what if there was a machine that could talk to the mechanism and exactly set the pins that you want so you could practice over and over again the unique thing. But like, I think the hardest one is like the 2 at the end. So you could like all afternoon just completely reset just the 2 pins and work on your thing. You know, just like do it, and you did. Ultimately, it was this box that looked like something out of Star Trek with lights and levers and switches and all that sort of thing that was mounted where the ball came out here and was connected to the mechanism. But think of, this is like 1965. Today, it would be a computer software issue. Not then. So he had to literally get in the mechanics of the bowling alley, preferably when people weren't bowling, and how does this thing work? How can actual like cords and levers attached to this thing somehow let this mechanism know to only do certain pins at a certain time? And like I said, he was successful at it, and it worked. And the place that Team Southgate Mortuary always went, had them at every lane, and a few others. But think about it. So what does it take to, what did my dad need to do, and how does that lead us to how do we invent our life? So first of all, you're presented with a big idea. That's a good idea. And the second thing is the world of measurement said, that can never happen. And so we go back to 1965, pre-computers. How would you even begin? I mean, really, how would you even begin? So the first thing you do with anything, first you keep the idea. Something told him that this was an idea that would work. Same with ideas in your life. We have a lot of ideas, but what are the ones that are really calling you and compelling you? In your quiet time in the morning or whenever you do spiritual practice, we have plenty of egotistical ideas, but what are the ones that just won't give up? We all have those ideas, and they're just saying, this is where you need to go here. And again, the world of measurements is saying, really? Again, it costs too much, involves too many people, I don't have time, you know, the usual. But you stay with it. And I'm sure my dad for a while says, it's 1965, who could do this now, kind of thing. So first, you start to learn a little bit. What do I need to know? In fact, anything when you are inventing something, you have a series of points of, let's say, transformation points of, okay, for my next step, this is the issue I need to solve. And I can think of my dad. I can't even imagine how many there was. I need to learn this before I can go and even create the next transformation point. So just start where you are in this large idea that seems way too big. What is your first transformation point? What is the first thing you either need to learn or do? Or atone for? What's the first thing? And it will lead you to the second thing. And it will lead you to the third thing. And along the way, you will be hounded by the world of measurements. See, that proved it really can't be done. Or you went and asked that person, and they should slam the door in your face, metaphorically or in real time. But you keep resetting those. Sometimes the door slamming in your face is the best thing that can happen to you. And in the day that it happens, it doesn't seem so great. But it might be the information that you needed to know. So in reinventing our lives, whether it's a major upgrade or I'm just shifting a little bit, what is the first thing I need to know? What is my first transformational point that if I know this, that I can entertain what the next one is? It's that simple and that vexing at the same time. The things that have unfolded for me that I think, as I look back, the rearview mirror is always great. Look at this great thing that happened 20 years ago. Boy, talk about faith as a verb. All I could see, and I would imagine this is true for you, all I could see would be the next transformation point. And I would drive myself nuts thinking, but look at this one that I think is way down the road. How could that happen? And you have to like reel myself in. Don't even worry about that one yet. What's the one right here that you need to be concerned about? And to really think that rather than someone who is, setting intentions and manifesting, I am inventing my life and reinventing my life. There's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of things I need to do. And to just keep myself centered along the way and know that what is actually needed, if it's truly something that's calling you, will have a way of coming in your path along the way. And I know that sounds airy-fairy and like, oh, that's too good to be true. It's really not. Think about it. Think about one of the best things that ever happened in your life. Didn't it have that kind of sense of magic with it? I mean, really. It's like, I think of myself, in spite of myself, I got out of the way. And how amazing that was. And why can't I always do that now? But really, so evidence is a great teacher. So there was at least one time that you had this amazing idea. You didn't stress too much about it. You didn't get lost in the world of measurement. And you said, what if? And spontaneously, the first transformation point came up, says, go talk to Joe. I think he knows about that sort of thing. And you did. And that led you to the next thing. And you weren't even thinking you were going through a process. You just kind of did it. And it worked out really well. So the thing here in this book is to recreate that and be more conscious in that creation and in that invention of your life. That's really what it is. It's something that we have already proved that works. And now let's take it and actually more consciously repeat the process. That makes sense. So start reading this book. I just want to close with something that's on that sheet of paper. Hold on. And I didn't even spill water on it, so I can still read. So, the authors of The Art of Possibility offer us a prescription to invite in change of consciousness. They write, in the measurement world, you set a goal and strive for it. In the universe of possibility, you set the context and let life unfold. Measurements are an important metric in the physical world, but the universe of possibility asks more of us. It asks that you strive to first clarifying the underlying vision or idea of your personal intention before moving forward. The physical law of measurements may be called upon to then assist you on your journey, but only as a means of greater idea to fruition. How have you invented limitations in your life in the past? Be honest with yourself. It is not a question to design to limit you further. It is a question designed to set you free. So let's take this in. Let us be so grateful for this rain today. Let us be grateful for anyone who turns 75 today. I know there must be somebody in this room that's turning 75 today. Nah, couldn't be. And let's just open ourselves up to the idea of possibility. The evidence in the world is not evidence that it cannot be. It is evidence that there are just things to learn. That's it. We are inventing and reinventing our life in a higher energy and consciousness in a way that it works even better than it is now. And we just allow that process to happen. And we know that it is as possible for us, it is possible for the world. We affirm right now that our entire world not only can be reinvented, but is in the process of being reinvented. And we know we each have a say in consciousness of how that is. And we say yes. So in this great possibility, we just express our thanks and gratitude that it is so. We allow ourselves to get on board with the process. And in this Thanksgiving, we simply release this idea into the universe of possibility, knowing that as we release the big idea, it comes back to us absolutely perfect. And so it is.